Hello, and welcome to this week's Q&A. It's currently midnight in Romania because we switched the Q&A from Sunday to Monday. This weekend, I went to a Bob Proctor seminar in Serbia, in Belgrade, and it was pretty cool. I actually met Bob, which is one of my mentors, and it was pretty sweet. But we had to move the Q&A in Belgrade 1 day later. Sorry about that. Some audio just came in on my screen. And today we will cover the subject of achieving Greek god physique. And I'm going to address all your questions and show you how to set your diet and training in order to go from your current physique, which may be maybe you're fat, maybe you're skinny, maybe you're skinny fat. There are different steps you need to take to go from where you are now to the Greek god physique. And first of all, to give you a definition of what the Greek god physique is, it is one of the kinobody physiques that Greg coined, because he realized that most people wanted a physique that is muscular and lean, but most people didn't have a clear definition for that. And if he created that hierarchy of warrior, Greek god, and superhero physique, so people have a clear goal to shoot for. I think that is a great idea. And the Greek god physique is the one in the middle, where you have good muscle development, not yet close to your genetic potential, but good muscle development combined with a low body fat percentage. And that creates a very nice upper body where you have great proportions, wide shoulders, a narrow waist, and your face is also chiseled because you're at a low body fat. You have great abs, great muscle separation, and good overall size. And you also look good in clothes. You stand out because of the increased muscle size. So we will talk about how to achieve that type of development. And the first question comes from John, and he says, what are the foods that you should eat while bulking for the Greek god physique? The foods are really not that important. What you eat doesn't matter nearly as much as the macros that you set in a day, the overall amount of calories and macros that you consume. Now, depending on where you start from, you will have to set your calories and macros differently. If you start from a high body fat percentage, if you're fat with a low amount of muscle mass, or if you're fat but muscled, either way you will have to diet first to lose fat first in order to achieve that physique. So in that situation, what you will do is you will set a diet that creates a calorie deficit so you can lose fat, and you do that until you reach a low body fat percentage. And in that point, if you start fat but muscled, you will probably achieve the Greek god physique without having to build more muscle, because you already have the muscle underneath the fat. Once you strip the fat off, you will be left with that physique that you're looking for, the Greek god physique. If you start skinny, then it's the other way around. You will have to gain weight. You will have to build muscle in order to achieve that same look. And in that case, you set your calorie deficit. You set your calories to be in a surplus, so you gain weight and you gain muscle in the process. And you can do both of these things with the calculator provided in ShredSmart. If you go in the nutrition part of ShredSmart and you go in the chapter called How to Set Your Macros, you will have a link to a calculator. Click on that, and in that calculator, you will have the option to set your diet either for cutting or for bulking or for maintenance, obviously. And if you're skinny, go and click for bulking to set your calories for bulking. And if you have fat to lose, click on set your calories for a normal cut or an aggressive cut. That is up to you. And you also see that calculator gives you your macros, the amounts of protein, fats, and carbs that you should eat. And based on those, if you hit those numbers, then the foods that you consume don't really matter that much. Of course, they're important: micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients. those are important for our health, and they also affect body composition because they affect strength levels, and also if they affect your health, it's also obvious that they will affect body composition in time. However, macros do influence body composition and health more than micronutrients. That doesn't mean that micronutrients don't have any effect at all. So what are the best foods that you should eat? I would say focus mostly on whole foods, whole natural foods, eating foods like for your protein animal products. If you're a meat eater, if you're a vegan, then go for sources of vegetable protein like beans, soy products such as tofu or tempeh, or some sorts of seeds or protein powders, vegetable protein powders. Focus on foods that are nutritious, that not only give you the macros you need, but also give you fiber, vitamins, minerals, stuff like that. You should mostly avoid fast foods, canned foods, processed foods. If a food has a long shelf life, you probably should avoid it. If it's something that goes bad in a few days, that is probably a food that you would want to have as the base of your diet, if it's natural. So that would be the good answer to that first question, because not the foods are not what matter most, but the way you set your nutrition. Then John asks, what is a good source of carbs? What food is a good source of carbs? I would say that potatoes are probably the best, in my opinion, because not only they are very tasty, they are also very nutritious, and they are also very low in calories for the amount of volume that they have. If you are cutting, for example, if potatoes are your main source of carbs, you will be very satisfied, because you will be able to eat a large quantity of food for the amount of carbs that you have in your budget, and that is great for cutting, because feeling satiety is one of the biggest priorities. So I would say potatoes. I personally also like bread and pasta. I know that some people are sensitive to gluten. If that is the case, then you can eat these foods that are gluten-free. I know that some companies do that. Rice is also great. And also you can eat desserts if you want. If you crave something sweet, you can also include that in your diet. Things like ice cream or chocolate, or some types of cookies, biscuits, sometimes stuff like that, you can include in your diet as sources of carbs. And obviously, great sources of carbs are also fruits and vegetables. But I assume that is that goes without mentioning. So those would be my preferred carb sources. Now let's see if we have some questions live. Okay, not yet. I will still get questions from the email. And John asked another questions. In the case of carbs, does the glycemic index matter? How much does it matter? The glycemic index doesn't matter that much. I think it doesn't matter at all, to be honest. So you don't even need to focus on that. It matters in a way that it affects your satiety. If you eat high glycemic carbs, such as table sugar or white bread, rice, and if you eat only those foods, then your insulin levels will spike rapidly, and because of that, they will also come down very rapidly. And if you have when insulin goes down fast, that triggers false hunger. It creates that cycle where you ate, but you want to eat more. And that's one of the reasons why you should avoid eating only carbs in a meal. For example, a pretzel or some cookies or stuff like that, because your insulin will spike rapidly, but then it will come down fast, and that will make you hungry again. Protein shakes are also do the same thing. Whey, which is actually protein, spikes insulin just as much as carbs, just as much as white bread. And if you do not have fats or fiber in that meal, so insulin doesn't spike that fast, the meal is not as easily absorbed or processed, then you will achieve, you will notice that you will be hungry soon after a meal like that. So the glycemic index doesn't matter in the way of affecting results, but it does matter for how satisfying a meal is and how for how long it keeps you satisfied. All right, now let's go a bit back. So if you when I make these transformations videos, how to go from one type of physique to another type of physique, it's good to see it as steps, so you have a clear direction for what to do. So let's say that if you start from a high body fat percentage, like we said, you start with a diet phase, so you strip the fat off. Now the question is, for how long do you diet? I would say that you should stop your cut when you reach around 8 to 12% body fat. In that body fat range, you can have the Greek God physique if you have good muscle development. So if you start fat but muscled, you may be able to achieve the Greek God physique just by leaning down. If you reach maybe 10% body fat, you will have great muscle definition because you have a low body fat and great proportions. Now, if you see that you lose fat, you get to, let's say, 10% body fat, but you don't have the desired muscle development, then in that case, you're going to have to do a bulking phase next to build some more muscle so you can have the Greek God physique. So if you start from a high body fat percentage, first diet down to the range of 8 to 12% body fat. If you have the physique that you want in the body fat range, great, you achieved your goal. If not, then start a slow lean bulking phase over several months and aim to gain about 1 kilogram per month or 2.2 pounds per month, 2 pounds per month, because that will guarantee that you don't gain a lot of fat with the muscle. Maybe you will gain at a 1-to-1 ratio, 1 part muscle, 1 part fat, or maybe 1.5 pounds, 1.5 parts muscle and half a part fat. So you actually gain less fat than muscle. But even a 1-to-1 ratio is good for natural lifters. And you should stop your bulk when you reach around 14 to 15% body fat, because in that point, as you accumulate more body fat, the way calories are partitioned in your body, how many calories go into muscle or how many go into fat, starts to become a disadvantage for you, because the more body fat you have, the more fat you will tend to store. You store less fat in a surplus when you're lean compared to when you are fat, because insulin sensitivity goes down. Testosterone levels also go down a little bit. Your workout performance may suffer, your conditioning may suffer. And because of these reasons, I believe that you shouldn't bulk above, let's say, 15 to 17% body fat. Stop your bulk there, do another mini cut phase until you return to around 10% body fat. And if you have the desired muscle development, then great, you achieve your goal. If you still need some more muscle, redo that cycle. Bulk again over 4 to 5, 6, 7 months. When you reach 15% body fat, cut again. And at that point, if you do 3 of these cycles, you will probably have the amount of muscle that you want. Now, if you start from a skinny physique, then you're probably lean. Let's say you're 12% body fat. And what you do first, you start with a lean bulking phase, obviously, because you need to build more mass, more size. and you do the same cycle. You bulk continue until you reach 15 to 70% body fat. Then you do a cutting phase to return to around 10%. Then you do another lean bulking phase, and you keep going back and forth like that until you reach the amount of muscle mass you need and a low body fat percentage. So you have the physique you want. Now, during all this time where you manipulate your nutrition to change your body weight and support muscle growth and fat loss, during all this time in the gym, you should be focusing on making strength gains. Because for natural lifters, muscle and strength are pretty well correlated. They're not 100% correlated. I know that in the past, I used to say that strength always correlates with muscle. That is true, but not 100%. Some people may be stronger than others and have different amounts of muscle mass because they have different limb lengths. They have different genetics for strength, maybe. Some people do have are stronger with the same muscle mass than others, and it's related to the way their muscle fibers are recruited, the way their nervous system fires, the leverage they have, limb lengths, like I said. But for the most part, if you gain strength, you can be sure that you're also gaining muscle. So to achieve the Greek God physique, there are actually some standards that you need to hit in order to achieve that physique. And I would say those are, let's say, a few lifts that you should aim for. You should aim to reach a flat bench press of, let's say, 5 reps with 1.4 of your body weight, or even 1.3 for some people. So 5 reps with 1.3 of your body weight for flat bench press, and maybe the same for incline, maybe a bit less. But if you lift 30 to 40% more than your body weight on bench press for 5 reps, you can be sure you're going to have good chest development, enough for the Greek God physique. Now for shoulders, you should aim to do 5 reps on the standing press with, let's say, 80% of your body weight. For example, if you weigh 70 kilograms, you should be able to lift, let's say, 60 kilograms for 5 reps. In pounds, that would be 165 pounds body weight. So you would be lifting around 150 pounds for 5 reps. If you do that, you will have good shoulder development, enough for the Greek God physique if you're lean. And for pull-ups, for back development, you should aim to reach maybe between 60 and 80 pounds for 5 reps strapped on your belt. So your body weight plus 70 to 80 pounds for 5 reps, weighted chin-ups or weighted pull-ups. In kilograms, that would be between 25 and 35 kilograms. And if you achieve these 3 lifts, you can be pretty sure that you will have good muscle development, enough to look great at a low body fat percentage. So this would be the overall philosophy for how to go from one type of physique to another. Now, let me check some more live questions here. So John says, "Oh my God, no protein shakes, no white bread, no sugar." Yeah, some people are sensitive to those foods. I personally don't notice a difference. Sugar and white bread and high glycemic carbs like that don't affect me at all. Other people do get sluggish if they eat those foods, and they get hungrier. Those foods are not satisfying for them, and I recommend that those people don't eat those. But if that is something that you enjoy, I think that most people can eat them from time to time. Okay, so John again says, "I started with 10% body fat. I'm too damn small now. I hope to be as expected." Yeah, if I experienced the same thing. I started with a cutting phase as well. The first time I started lifting properly, and I went from, I was 73 kilograms at around 15% body fat, and when I cut down to around 8%, I was 68 kilograms, and I was so small. I was people were asking me, why did you lose so much weight? You look skinny. You look worse than when you started. And that was with clothes on, obviously. If I took my shirt off, you would see good muscle definition. I would look pretty good in good lighting and in photos, but I did lack size, and that is something to be expected. I would say that at the beginning of a fitness journey, you can expect to look worse for a while, because your physique is under construction in a way. When you want to build a better building in the place of an old one, you first have to tear down the old building. The place is going to look even worse than before. It will be mess all over the place, but that is a work in progress. If you wait a few months and the new building starts to be built in the place of the old one, gradually it's going to look better and better and better and better, and finally the new building will replace the old one. And that is the way I think for our physiques. We can expect to look worse in the first few months when we start the fitness journey, but then our physique will gradually get better and better and better and better until we achieve our goal. So yeah, if you achieve those standards for strength for the Greek God physique, you will most likely have the Greek God. And if you want to see those standards, they are right in the first chapter of Shred Smart. I'm pretty sure you saw those numbers. I shared them all over the place. I think they're very valuable, because for me personally, when I discovered those standards, that is when I had clear goals, clear fitness goals. I knew what I needed to do in the gym. I knew that I needed to hit those lifts. I knew that I needed to focus on making PRs. I no longer wasted time pumping my muscles, exhausting them with 6 to 7, 8 exercises in a day in the hopes that I will make my muscles bigger. I knew that strength was what matters most, and progressive overload is the thing that we should strive for all the time. And those standards are incredibly useful. And also in those standards, you will see the waist measurement as one of those standards, because for many people, waist circumference around the navel correlates with body fat percentage. For some people, for most people, if they have let's say 44% of their weight, if their waist measurement is 44% of their height, then they are around, let's say, 10% body fat. Most people. I personally, I have a slimmer waist compared to my height. When I'm around 10% body fat, I would say that I have a 43% waist compared to my height. And striving for those waist measurements is also very good, because it's a good indicator for where your body fat percentage is. If you have the Greek God physique standards and your waist is around 43 to 44% of your height, then you know that your body fat percentage is also low. And tracking your waist is something much cheaper and easier to do, to track your body fat percentage, compared to DEXA scans or bod pods or underwater weighing and all those complicated ways to measure body fat percentage. And they're also very expensive, and sometimes they're not reliable. DEXA scan, for example, last summer when I was shredded, I went and did the DEXA scan, and it put me at 15% body fat, and I was obviously not 15% body fat, but DEXA sometimes, although it's considered the gold standard in terms of estimating body fat percentage, sometimes it gives wrong readings, just like any other method of estimating body fat percentage. And John asks another question: what is the gym routine to achieve the Greek God physique. I'm now finishing my cutting phase. My cutting phase. What should I do next? There are several gym routines that you can use to achieve that physique, because in the end you want to achieve certain strength standards, and you can use the routines from Shred Smart for bulking as well. For example, right now I'm recovering from my layoff, but I'm bulking. I'm not cutting because I can't really cut while I'm taking my medications, and I use the routines from Shred Smart. However, I do one extra exercise on my muscle groups. So I do more volume than when cutting, because when you're bulking, your recovery is better. You are eating less of calories. You can handle more work, and you probably make better progress because of that. So what I do is I use the intermediate advanced routine from Shred Smart. That routine contains the right amount of volume for most intermediates to advanced, and the progression model also supports continuous strain gains over many months, because you have that linear progression and the deload week that allows you to recover and always come back to the gym excited to lift some weights. You never reach that point where you're frustrated that you no longer can replicate your old PRs and that you lost strength, or you're disappointed that you wanted to hit a PR today but you're not feeling very energized. So that is one option. You can use the routines from Shred Smart and increase the volume a little bit. What I did is, in that routine of intermediate advanced routine, I added another exercise for chest in the Monday workout and another exercise for back in the Tuesday workout. The Thursday workout, which is lower body, is right like it is in the program, and the Friday workout again is just as the program is laid down. So yeah, you can add another chest exercise, another back exercise on those respective days, and that is a great bulking routine. You can try that. And also, of course, you can use the Greek God program. That is what I used for 2 years, and it's the program I used to build my physique. And the training philosophy is a bit different. It's based on RPT, reverse primary training. That is a great training style. The reason I made the switch from RPT to the linear progression model from Shred Smart is because I think that style of training was very draining for me personally. The right training routine, I noticed that depends a lot on the lifter's personality. If you don't enjoy always getting beat up in your workouts, you probably shouldn't train like that, right? You should do something that you enjoy, because your mind, the way you view your workouts, is extremely important for your progress, and that has been shown in research repeatedly. When people think they should be getting stronger, they do. There was one study that showed that when people thought they were on steroids, they made progress like they were on steroids, just because they had those mental breaks taken off. So if you train with a routine that you don't enjoy, that constantly stresses you out and doesn't make you excited at all, then it should be expected that you don't make such good progress as you would with a routine that you enjoy. So I did the switch. I stopped training with reverse primary training, and I'll train with the straight sets and that linear progression model. And for me personally, it's better because it fits my personality. However, even with RPT, I made great progress, and all the pictures with my physique that I have online were taken when I was doing the Greek God program. So it works. Yeah, if you want to see some examples of the routines from the Greek God program, go on my website, Think It Lift, and search for the mega workouts. You will see that it's a 2-day split: mega workout chest, triceps and shoulders, and mega workout back and biceps and legs. And those are the 2 days that you alternate. You do, let's say, Monday workout A, Wednesday workout B, Friday workout A. Next Monday you do workout B. Then you do on Wednesday workout A, Friday workout A. So you, or B, you alternate them on non-consecutive days. You have a 2-day split, you alternate them 3 times a week. And you can see the exact routines and videos in those posts. Mega workout chest, shoulders and triceps, and mega workout back, biceps, and legs. And those would be good routines to achieve that physique. Now let me check the live question feed. If you have any questions about what I addressed until now, please ask them in the chat. So what else? What else for achieving the Greek God physique? Time. How long does it take? I would say for a complete beginner, someone that hasn't been playing sports or didn't have a history of working out, someone who is a complete beginner could probably reach the Greek God physique in about 2 years. I know that it sounds discouraging for some people that it takes that long, but the Greek God physique is actually a pretty advanced look. You look like someone who lifts weights, and they also have their nutrition figured out, and it's pretty awesome. It's better than most Hollywood actors. Most Hollywood actors that you see in movies playing superheroes and action stars and other powerful male characters have probably a worse physique than the Greek God physique. So it's pretty good. So you need about 2 years to get there. And the reason for that is because if someone starts with very little muscle mass, they need to build maybe 15 to 25 pounds of muscle. That would be maybe 7 to 12 kilograms of muscle to reach that kind of development. And that takes time. It takes time because a natural lifter can probably build around, let's say, 20 pounds of muscle in their first year and about 10 in their second year. In kilograms, that would be around 10 kilograms in their first year and about 5 in their second year. And you need that amount of time in order to build that solid base of muscle development that will give you the proportions and the overall look that you want. And another thing that you should keep in mind is that those 2 years, as those, let's say, 1 to 2 years pass, you'll gradually look better and better and better and better while you are building the Greek God physique. It's most people think when they hear this, they think that they're gonna look like they look right now, and then on the final day of the second year, when they wake up in the morning, bam, they look like a Greek God. That is not how it works, obviously. Your physique improves gradually, so you'll be satisfied even along the way. Every time you look in the mirror, every month, you will look better, you will look better, you will look better every time. And that is what keeps you motivated. When a fitness transformation, when you learn that a fitness transformation takes a lot of time, don't think that it's you go from, it's going to be fat and weak, fat and weak, fat and weak, fat and weak for 400 days, and then finally, at a certain point, bam, everything changes and you look great. No, you gradually look better and better. Probably you look a bit worse in the beginning, like I said, if you cut first, because you'll be small, but you'll be looking better and better and better until you achieve your physique. So let me see if I have some more questions live. Okay, so Thomas says if he can write in Romanian or he needs to write in English. Either way, if you write in English, other people can see your comment as well, and it's probably better for the community, but you can also talk in Romanian with me, no problem. Colin says, hey Radu, there are some questions on the Facebook post that had the link to this Q&A. Yep, I will check those out. And John says, what do you think of this Arnold phrase? Working out, putting your mind inside your muscles. If you're lifting focused in other thing, that is working out, putting your mind inside your muscles. If you are lifting focused in other thing, that is a complete waste of time. I'm for lifting focused on other thing. I think it's not a complete waste of time. I think you can still make progress even if you think about something else when you're lifting, but you'll certainly not have the best performance. You need to put your mind in the game. You need to focus on making those PRs, on making those train gains. And also something that it's probably good to address is that there have been studies that looked at what is better for progress, external cues or internal cues. And internal cues are what you feel when you're lifting weights, and external cues are what you go by when lifting weights. For example, if you're squatting and you want to grow your quads, an internal cue would be, I need to feel the burn in my quads. And you focus mentally, you put your mind inside the muscle to feel those quads contracting while you're squatting and feeling them work as you lift the weight. That is an internal cue. An external cue would be something like when you are at the bottom position, focus on spread the ground apart, pushing your knees outwards so you don't let your knees fall in, because that is improper form. And that is an external cue. You focus on something else. You focus on pushing the ground apart, or like the bench press. You focus on pushing your back against the bench instead of focusing on feeling the contractions of your muscles. And those studies found something interesting. If you put your mind inside the muscle, if you feel the muscle working, you recruit muscle fibers more efficiently. You recruit more muscle fibers. The individual muscle fibers are worked better for the same number of repetitions. However, if you focus on external cues, you are usually stronger. You can do maybe 1 or 2 more reps, or you are stronger overall because you don't focus on yourself. You take the pressure out of yourself and you put it on something external, and you can drive more effort into that movement. And what they found is that external cues, focusing on something external, can actually lead to better long-term progress because you make better strength gains. So even though you are recruiting more muscle fibers, if you focus on the muscles worked, if you do more volume and lift more weights over time, that is more important. That will lead to more growth over time. So if I had to give a recommendation, I would actually encourage people to mostly focus on external cues and focus on internal cues only when they want to work a specific muscle group that is hard to recruit with some exercises. For example, some people have a hard time feeling their inner back muscles when they do rows. If you use external cues, you probably don't feel that area. But if you focus on feeling the muscle as you're working, you will probably be able to recruit that part of your back and grow it. So in some situations, internal cues are better than external cues, but I would say that for the most part, you should focus on external cues. So regarding that that question about the Arnold's quote, I don't think it's a waste of time. I actually think that external cues could actually be useful. All right, now let me go to the Facebook page to see the questions from there. Okay, so the first question comes from Nizar, and he says, "Hi Radu, I noticed that during cold weather I feel more hungry, and I guess this is normal. But does weather affect your calorie needs per day? I don't know if I'm asking that in the right way or if it's a stupid question, right? I think you got my point. Thanks." Yes, actually, weather, temperature does affect your calorie expenditure. The colder it is outside, the more calories you're going to burn because you need to maintain a body temperature. Our body is warm, and that takes energy. It takes energy to keep it that way. However, the effect is very small. I think that if you spend the whole day in around 17 degrees Celsius, I don't know how much that is in Fahrenheit. I'm sorry about that. You can Google that if you want to make the conversion. But I know that if you spend the whole day in 17 degrees, and that is an uncomfortable temperature, you burn about 100 calories more per day than you normally do. It's very small, but it is true. It does make a small difference. And I think our bodies naturally want us to consume more food during winter time. However, now that we live inside and we have warm clothing and we have heating systems inside our homes, that is unnecessary. I think that actually during the winter, our calorie expenditure is lower than during summertime because we move less. We walk less outside, we have less outdoor activities, we travel less. Overall, I would say that during the winter, our calorie expenditure is lower. So although our appetite goes up, because that is the way we are programmed physiologically, if our calorie expenditure goes down, we actually gain more fat. So I would say don't listen to your instincts that much during this period of the year, because you may eat more than you actually need. However, still listen to your body sometimes, but don't listen to it all the time, because those instincts that we have are primarily focused on survival, and if you go by them, you may just gain unnecessary fat. I hope that answers the question. The next one comes from Leonardo, and he says, "Hi Radu, I would like to know an alternative for my training because I do not have access to a leg press machine. I only have dumbbells and barbells. Thanks so much for your work." Oh, that's not a problem. Instead of doing leg press, you can do maybe walking lunges with dumbbells or barbells, and that would train your quads, and it will train your legs in a similar way as a press would. Or you could do another form of squat. But I would say that if you do back squats or front squats, if you do Romanian deadlift, then walking lunges would work better than another type of squat if you don't have a leg press machine. So I would suggest lunges. Okay, Colin says, "Radu, I'm meeting with someone soon that I would really like to work for. How do you recommend I show them that I can bring them value, and how should I prepare myself to talk with them? That is, preparing questions, discussing my skills and accomplishments, etc. Thanks." That's a good question. I think you should show them that you care and that you are capable. Napoleon Hill, one of my favorite authors and speakers, said that when hiring people, the main thing to look for is not skill. The main thing to look for is not skill, because skill can be learned, can be taught much easier than character. Character is more important in an employee or in someone you work with than skill. And he said that the first quality to look for in an employee is loyalty. Loyalty. If an employee is not loyal, doesn't care about the business, and is willing to leave at any time without giving a shit about what they do, then that is someone that you probably shouldn't hire or even want to work with, even if they're very skilled. You could be wasting your time. It's just not worth it. So show, first of all, that you care, that you're loyal, and that you willingly want to work for them and you want to do your best. And the second quality Hill talked about is dependability. Not only are you loyal, not only are you're gonna stick with them and help them in bad times, or be focused on your job, but you can also deliver. You are dependable. If someone says, I need to be there at 7 a.m., you are there at 7 a.m. If someone says, we need to get this done by Wednesday, you do it by Wednesday. If you say you're going to do something, you do something. You are a man of your word. If you are dependable. Dependability is incredibly important. And only then, only after those two qualities, loyalty and dependability, that is when you show skill. That is when you show what you can do. Because character is much harder to develop than skill. And so if you show that you have the right character, people will probably hire you even if you lack the skills. Skills can be learned. So in your current situation, I think that if you can think of some way that you can bring value to them, just mention that. Say, hey, I'm excited to work for you, and I have these ideas on how to do the job that I'm preparing for better. Or I could use a bit of context, but yeah, you probably have some ideas in your mind about how to bring value to that person or company. So share that. And if that is something that they don't want to focus on at the moment, that's fine, because you can always say that, hey, that's fine. I'm going to focus on the projects that you currently have working, and focus on that. And also, another great quality to show that you have is the ability to study for yourself, to be self-taught. That is extremely important, especially now that we have the internet. You can learn pretty much anything you need to do online. If you don't know if you get an error in a program, if you don't know how to structure some paperwork or whatever, you can search that online and find the answer for yourself instead of going to them to ask for answers. And that is extremely valuable, because as someone who hires people, you don't want them to always depend upon you, for them to call you for the smallest things. Show them that you can learn by yourself online, and that is extremely valuable. It's probably one of the most sought after qualities in an employee. So I would encourage you to show that you're loyal, dependable, willing to learn, and that you're willing to develop skill, or show the skills that you already have. All right, next question comes from Tobias. Hi Radu, starting on December 28th, I'll be traveling the world for 6 months. Nice. I already know I will be losing a lot of my gains, but what would you recommend me to do to minimize fat gain and muscle loss? I think in terms of food, if I were you, I would just focus on eating protein in most of my meals. You're probably you're gonna want to try local foods as much as possible. That's what I would if I was traveling the world for 6 months, and that's great, by the way. Go for traditional dishes that have some protein, maybe meat, maybe cheese. If you go for vegetarian options, maybe beans, seeds, soy products, stuff like that. Focus on having protein in most of your meals, and the rest of the time just eat normally, I would say, around maintenance. Just don't gain a lot of fat. If you do intermittent fasting, keep doing intermittent fasting. Eat normally, just eat some more protein with those foods. And I find that is not difficult to do when traveling, because you usually move a lot. you have a high calorie expenditure, and because of that, it's quite easy to not overeat. This has been my experience, but you may be different. Now, in terms of muscle loss, that is the big issue, because to maintain muscle, you would want to maintain the same intensity of your training as you do now. Because if you lower the weight that you're working with or the volume, you usually lose muscle and performance as well. And that will be an issue. You're probably not going to have access to a gym, so that is probably not an option. Bodyweight training is probably your best option. Bodyweight training. Now, personally, I'm not good with bodyweight training because I haven't used it personally. However, Greg has that bodyweight mastery program, and I would encourage you to purchase that if you have the funds, because it's great. It's all the workouts and progressions are laid out in that program. How to go from normal push-ups to, for example, one hand push-ups or feet elevated one hand push-ups. If you do those, then you know you're going to have a great chest. If you can do handstand push-ups, you work your shoulders very hard, and you don't need a gym for that. You can literally anywhere you can perform those exercises. Pull-ups are a bit more difficult because you need some sort of a bar or something to hang on, but even that is easier to find. I know that I remember that when I went to we had a fishing trip last year during the summer, and I didn't have a gym there. So what I did is I found a soccer field, and I don't know how to call that in English. That metal structure that constructs the goal. We call it a gate in Romania. That has bars, and I would just hang from those and do pull-ups and chin-ups and dips and stuff like that, and it worked great. It was just one bar. So I'm pretty sure that you can find those anywhere you travel. So that's what I would do. I would eat normally, make sure that you get as much protein as you can, and follow the Kinobody Mastery Program, Bodyweight Mastery Program. This is what I would suggest. Now let me see if we have some more live questions. So Colin says, thanks so much for the response, especially since it isn't related to today's main topic. You're welcome, Colin. This is what the Q&As are for. Thanks for asking the questions. Nizar said, should we be doing the workouts in the same order written in the Shred Smart program? Does it have any tangible effect or not? Yes, the order is pretty important, and you should aim to do them in the order described, because you want to have the workouts that have the higher priority should be put in the beginning of your workout, because then you can focus most of your attention on them, most of your performance on them. For example, if you do chest, you should aim to have your bench press first, not your flies, because if you use your energy on chest flies and then you go on and do bench press, your chest is already going to be pretty exhausted, and you just traded a pump workout, a pump exercise for a big compound exercise. And the compound exercises are always more efficient. Every time they build more strength, more endurance, more mind to muscle connection, everything. So you want to have the most complicated and the heaviest exercises first, and as the workout progresses, to do easier and easier exercises, and probably finish up with higher reps. For example, if you look at the workouts from Shred Smart in the intermediate advanced routine, for example, on the back exercises, in back day, Tuesday, you start with weighted chin-ups or pull-ups, because that is probably the hardest back exercise that you can do. You do them first. If you do rows first, yes, you can probably lift more weight on rows, but try doing pull-ups, weighted pull-ups or chin-ups after that. You can't, or you have to reduce the weight a lot. So you put the heaviest exercises first, the the most difficult exercises first and progress to easier and easier exercises. The order is pretty important, and I would suggest you stick with them. It pisses me off when I go to the gym and it's very crowded and the machines or the exercises that I have to do next are occupied. But what I do is just I wait, even if it takes 3 to 4 minutes for that exercise or machine to be available. I wait. It's not a problem. It's more important to make strength gains than it is to rest little between exercises. So if you are presented with the choice of doing an inferior exercise or wait and do the exercise that you have tracked and you know that you could probably progress on, then it's better to wait and do the exercise that you planned to do. All right, and with this, we're approaching the 1 hour mark. I think we can wrap up the Q&A here. Thanks so much for joining at this odd hour. I really hope that you enjoyed the Q&A. It was one of my favorites, my favorites, to be honest. And I will update the questionnaire on the live Q&A page, so you can choose next week's topic. And until then, you can contact me with questions on the priority email support and on the Facebook group. Thank you so much. Take care, and I will see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now on Sunday, so at our usual time of 1 p.m. Eastern. Thank you. Have a great day, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye-bye.